The decision was made to withdraw them. Enterprise is already hit. Enterprise is damaged. Enterprise is bleeding. It's time to get out before the costs elevate too high. It's time to break contact with the enemy and pull away.
Enterprise heads for the American base at New Caledonia, leaving her bloodied sister Hornet on her own. 4 p.m. The crew of USS Hornet have managed to get the fires on their ship under control and have even got steam pressure in 3 of her boilers. And with a little help from USS Northampton, it looks like Hornet might be saved after all. But what the men of Hornet do not know is that a final Japanese attack has been launched to finish them off. 6,000 feet above, 7 Kate torpedo planes fly in and prepare for their attack. Cruiser Northampton must break off her tow line and fend for herself. But a Kate scores a direct hit on Hornet that detonates amidships. This is the fatal blow. For USS Hornet, the situation is hopeless. With his ship taking on water and fires breaking out, Captain Mason orders the crew to abandon ship. Now his men must face the shark-infested waters and try to make it aboard another ship.
I swam out for a ways, and then I saw a group of others on a life raft, so I swam toward that. And then a destroyer came along and picked us up out of these life raft, and I was about probably the last one to get out of the life raft. As soon as I got up on that net climbing up the side there, the captain ordered full speed ahead, and that destroyer started to get out of there.
As Captain Mason slips over the side of his ship, he leaves behind the bodies of more than 100 officers, sailors, and Marines. Many of the wounded survivors make it aboard one of the destroyer escorts, or cruiser Northampton.
These guys were covered with fuel oil, a lot of them, and we didn't have very much left in the way of small stores or clothing to issue to them. So Northampton crewmen opened their lockers, and we gave these guys clean skivvies and socks and dungarees and shoes and cigarettes and whatever they needed.
Radioing from his headquarters in Noumea, Admiral Bull Halsey orders the Hornet sunk. But not even 3 torpedoes and nearly 400 shells are enough to kill her. Hornet simply refuses to die. Later that evening, Japanese ships discover the Hornet, the very same ship that launched the Doolittle raid on their homeland 6 months before. Finally, after a salvo of Japanese torpedoes, the Big E's sister slips beneath the waves.
Losing her is a very serious blow. We're now down to 1 operational aircraft carrier in the Solomons, and describing the Enterprise as operational is really stretching it at this point.
As night falls, pilots like Flash Gordon and Swede Vedasa finally make it aboard Enterprise. They encounter scenes of death and destruction aboard the aircraft carrier that none of them are prepared for. The ship is torn by shrapnel. Her decks are awash in blood and debris. The air is filled with the smells of saltwater, cordite, and human flesh. The bodies of nearly 44 men have been quickly stowed away to make room for the repair crews.
I can remember tears coming down my cheeks. I was crying, and my resolve was that this is too terrible a thing to have go on any longer than necessary, and the quickest way to get it over would be to kill as many Japanese people as I possibly could in my role as a dive bomber pilot. Kill as many Japanese as I could as soon as I could.
In total, more than 400 American officers, sailors, pilots, and Marines perish in the Battle of Santa Cruz Islands.
The day afterward, there were, I think it was 6 Hornet sailors had died of their wounds in our sick bay. And We buried them at sea. And that was, I guess, probably the toughest. You ask how we felt about it. Well, I think that brought it home to us.
Throughout the morning of October 27th, 1942, Enterprise and nearly every ship under Kincaid's command must perform a very solemn duty, and it will mark one of the darkest days of the entire war.
Just remembering it, I can't get over it. We all got on the fantail, and someone said a few prayers, and they let the bodies go. That's all I can say.
The process of burial at sea is an old Navy tradition. An amazing and tremendous symbolic importance to those in the sea services, because in the sea services, you're devoted to the ocean. You go to sea. You are a seaman. That's what you do. And to return to it after your death is an extreme symbol of your commitment to the sea services.
Enterprise is now the last of her kind, the only surviving ship of her class, and the only carrier left in the Pacific. The entire naval campaign now rests on her shoulders and the crew that mans her.
So what did that do? That left the Enterprise. Then there was one.
Enterprise versus Japan. Think about it, that's pretty weighty. I think from a morale perspective alone, that was very, very significant.
We're the last ones, and we're the only good target for the Japs. Who's going to get it next?
Though the loss of Hornet and so many U.S. sailors is a staggering blow, the Japanese can't claim victory. The cream of their aviation wing, more than 130 veteran airmen, have fallen to the guns of USS Enterprise and Task Force 61. These are losses that Japan will never be able to recover. Once again, Enterprise has somehow survived yet another violent encounter with the Japanese Navy. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, she and her crew have lived to fight another day.
I think it's amazing to sense that the USS Enterprise survived all those battles. But then again, it just goes to show you about the discipline and the overall spirit of that crew. It had everything to do with the spirit of those fighting men that were actually on that ship.
The Japanese attempt to reclaim Guadalcanal is a disaster, but in a matter of days, they will return. Guadalcanal is too great a prize to give up. Soon, on Battle 360, USS Enterprise will be patched up, returning once again to the Solomon Islands to face the enemy fleet at Guadalcanal. The Japanese Navy will send a massive force of battleships, destroyers, and 13,000 men to storm Henderson Field from the land and from the sea. In 3 days of epic battle, Enterprise will send an armada of troop ships to the bottom of the ocean. And the big guns of the battleships will go muzzle to muzzle in one of the largest sea engagements of the war. This time, it will be a no-holds-barred fight to the finish. Enterprise versus Japan. And the last one standing will claim Guadalcanal once and for all.